Hello everybody and welcome back to the Retro Horror Iceberg. I know it's been a month. I've been horribly busy. I promise I haven't forgotten about it because, I do enjoy doing this. I just have been extremely caught up with work and a bunch of other life stuff, but I'm going to get it done. I promise. I'm still working on it. This is the last part, so I have no excuse not to be done it, but thank you guys for being patient. Again, I'm sorry. It's just life's kind of gotten in the way lately and kind of been in a little bit of a pit, a little sadness pit, but it's okay. It's fine now. Today we're going to finally get into Tier 5 and the last tier, and we're going to see some of the more creepy and disturbing games today, and that's what I'm really excited about. I also wanted to add that we're going to be moving the Goofin' Off podcast more than likely either to the second channel, which, by the way, I made a second channel. It's going to be more gaming focused on things I find really cool. I'm going to keep the horror games on this channel and more funny moments with a few of my buds like Tom X Games on that channel. And Goofin' Off is probably going to be going over there, as well as I made a Spotify account for it. So now you can also listen to Goofin' Off while you're sitting there at work, dreading your shift. Maybe even on the way to, going somewhere. You can sit in traffic and listen to me and Tom X Games just complain and be an idiot for about 30 minutes to an hour. But you know what? That's what it's all about. And it's fun. We're having fun. I don't know why I made another channel. I'm still trying to figure this one out, but it's fine. So with all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with Tier 5, which is going to be obscure horror games, often strange, artistic, rare, or region-locked games. Some can be pretty difficult to find real copies of and may be in need of preservation work. Cosmology of Kyoto is an eerie Japanese adventure game that explores Kyoto's supernatural folklore with graphic, unsettling imagery. Players navigate a haunting, historical Kyoto full of demons and gruesome fates. Known for its brutal depiction of death, including dismemberment and disease, it was once called one of the scariest games ever by Wired magazine. It's infamous for having no real goal besides exploring and surviving. Despite its obscurity, it's received an English release for Macintosh and Windows. The minimalist graphics and historical depth make it both horrifying and culturally significant. I am a white boy from Maryland. I am not meant to pronounce most of these Japanese names, so I'll give it my best. Mizurna Falls, I think is how it's said, often considered Japan's answer to Twin Peaks. This open-world murder mystery centers around a missing girl in a snowy mountain town. The game lets you freely dive, investigate, and interact with the town's eccentric residents in real time. Its unsettling atmosphere, combined with cryptic dialogue and surreal happenings, gives it a disturbing, dreamlike quality. It was never officially translated into English, making it a holy grail among survival horror collectors. Interestingly, some fans believe it inspired Deadly Premonition. A full fan translation was finally completed in 2020. I don't think it's good to have a game that inspired Deadly Premonition because we really didn't need that game. Don't ever play Deadly Premonition. You're not going to have fun, and you're going to realize you wasted your money really fast. Serial Experiments Land Make Me Sad is based on the cult psychological anime Serial Experiments Land. This PlayStation adventure is more an interactive experience than a traditional game. Players navigate fragmented storylines, video clips, and eerie audio to uncover disturbing psychological themes. Its interface resembles a broken operating system, enhancing the unsettling vibe. There are no typical enemies or objectives, instead it's a descent into isolation and madness. The game never left Japan and it remains untranslated. Fans praise it as an extension of the anime's terrifying exploration of technology and identity. Which, by the way, if you've never watched Serial Experiments Land, please go watch it. It's like an actual banger of an anime, and I know Tom X Games is going to watch this video and be like, oh, so you can watch that anime, but you can't watch anything I recommend, and I'll have to deal with that complaint later, but it'll be okay. Desperia is a Dreamcast exclusive that combines cyberpunk, body horror, and psychological themes in an unsettling world. You play a psychic investigator who explores people's minds, encountering surreal creatures and grotesque imagery. The horror is more atmospheric and psychological rather than traditional gore. Despite its unique concept, It Never Left Japan and has remained untranslated. It's known for its heavy themes of trauma and mind control. The developer Atlas is more famous for the Shin Megami Tensei series. Which, now that I'm sitting here reading back my script, I kind of want to do a deep dive into Shin Megami Tensei and the horror behind it, and that's going to be something else I have to figure out later on. Moonlight Syndrome is a deeply unsettling adventure game that begins as a murder mystery but spirals into full psychological horror. Directed by Goichi Suda, it explores mental breakdowns, supernatural possession, and violent obsession. The game is tied to the Twilight Syndrome series, but takes a darker turn, focusing on trauma and surreal horror. Its minimal soundtrack and quiet dread make it easily oppressive. It remains untranslated, though its disturbing story has been analyzed by horror game enthusiasts. Many consider it Suda51's first signature horror work. Also, as a side note, if you couldn't tell, most of these are probably going to be Japanese games that, one, have not been translated, 2, they have fan translations. 3 are extremely expensive nowadays. Just prefacing that now, I probably should have said that earlier, but most of them are just going to be Japanese games. Phase Paradox is an obscure Japan-only PlayStation 2 horror RPG that mixes sci-fi, suspense, and survival horror. Players explore a haunted spaceship plagued by monstrous mutations and corporate secrets. The game focuses on paranoia, genetic experiments, and surreal body horror. It's connected to Paradigm City, an earlier, lesser-known adventure game. Its slow pace and unsettling ambience make it a hidden gem among Japanese horror fans. No official or fan translations exist as of today. Ringu Games talks about the several horror games based on the Ringu film series that were released in Japan for PlayStation PC. These include Ringu, The Mystery of the Cursed Videotape, and others focused on solving supernatural mysteries. Gameplay varies from point-and-click to visual novel-style investigations. They rely heavily on the cursed videotape motif and disturbing imagery from the films. Few outside Japan know of their existence, and none have been translated. Some fans describe them as haunting, yet awkward relics of J-horror gaming. It Syndrome is an episodic horror adventure focusing on 3 girls investigating ghost stories around their school. Players uncover urban legends through side-scrolling exploration and unsettling audio cues. This series is famous for psychological horror instead of traditional jump scares. It later inspired Moonlight Syndrome, a much darker entry by Suda51. Despite being relatively unknown in the West, it's revered in Japan as a pioneer of high school horror. It remains untranslated but has niche fan followings. Remember how I said earlier I'm just a white boy from Maryland, I'm not supposed to be able to pronounce certain things? This is another one of them, I'm going to butcher it. Seven Mansions, also known as Natsukaze no Shima Monogatari, this action-adventure game for Sega Saturn features 2 siblings exploring haunted mansions. Players solve puzzles, fend off monsters, and piece together disturbing family histories. The game has eerie religious overtones and a strong focus on dark atmosphere. It's notable for letting players switch between the 2 protagonists. Fans admire its haunting soundtrack and dreamlike visuals. No official translation exists, though it's gained cult appreciation online. Akagawa is a PlayStation adventure thriller focusing on survival after a plane crash in a fictional South American country. Players navigate political unrest, terrorism, and brutal environmental dangers on a frozen mountain. While not like a typical horror game, its constant dread, hostage situations, and tense survival scenarios give it a horror-like anxiety. The game mixes exploration, puzzles, and dialogue-heavy scenes. It remained Japan exclusive, but an English fan translation was released in 2020. It's considered an overlooked precursor to survival-focused adventure games. Eastern Mind, The Lost Souls of Tong Now, was developed by multimedia artist Osamu Sato. This point-and-click surreal horror game explores reincarnation and death through Eastern philosophies. This player takes on the role of Rin, a soul who must experience death and rebirth 9 times to reclaim his soul. The game is famous for its grotesque yet colorful visuals and abstract narrative. It blends Japanese Buddhist symbolism with unnerving sound design and surreal art. Despite its esoteric nature, it saw a limited English release on PC. Osamu Sato would later go on to create LSD Dream Emulator, another cult classic. Physical copies of Eastern Mind are extremely rare and considered collector's items. Anchorhead is a text-based interactive fiction game that is heavily inspired by the works of H.P. Lovecraft. The story follows a couple who move to a strange coastal town only to uncover dark cult secrets, ancient horrors, and disturbing family legacies. Despite being purely text-based, the game's atmosphere is dense with dread and unease. It is often lauded as one of the best-written horror games ever. The player is often led into morally ambiguous situations, making choices that have a long-lasting consequence. It has a strong cult following in the IF community, and a 20th anniversary edition was released in 2018 with updated prose and artwork. Often cited as the spiritual predecessor to Resident Evil, Sweet Home is an RPG survival horror based on a Japanese horror film of the same name. Players explore a haunted mansion, solving puzzles and managing a team of characters with permadeath mechanics. The game introduced mechanics like limited inventory, door animations, and healing items that influence Resident Evil. It was released only in Japan on the Famicom, but fan translations have made it accessible. The horror comes from its constant threat of traps and enemies that can permanently remove party members. It's widely regarded as one of the earliest and most important horror RPGs. The original director, Takuro Fujiwara, went on to lead Resident Evil's development. Chaos Break is a blend of survival horror and light gun shooter that throws players into a research facility overrun with bioorganic horrors. It combines science fiction with body horror in a way reminiscent of Resident Evil and Dino Crisis. Players control 2 characters in different routes, both armed and prepared for combat. The game has a strong arcade feel, but with eerie lighting and music that keeps tension high. Though not critically acclaimed, it has become a minor cult classic in horror fan circles. The monsters are grotesque and fast-moving, making exploration tense. It remains unlocalized in the West and relatively hard to find. Originally developed as a 4-player fighting game, Thrill Kill was banned by EA before release due to its extreme violence and sexualized content. Set in a hellish limbo, players control damned souls fighting for the chance to be reincarnated. Each fighter is a grotesque exaggeration of sin or trauma, such as a masochist strapped to a harness or a schizophrenic ballerina. The game was nearly complete and was leaked online, where it has become a popular underground title. While not a horror game in traditional mechanics, its setting and character design are pure horror. It is famous for being one of the most controversial unreleased games of all time. The game engine was later reused for Wu-Tang Shaolin style. Winter was a cancelled survival horror game for the Wii that featured a female protagonist navigating a snow-covered town during a supernatural blizzard. The game aimed to mix environmental survival with psychological horror, using snow invisibility as game mechanics. Although a demo was created and pitched, publishers rejected the project, fearing it would be too niche for Wii's casual audience. Footage of the game exists and shows a strong Silent Hill atmosphere. It's considered one of the great what-ifs in horror games for the 2000s. Fans still advocate for a modern revival. Despite positive reception to its concept, it has never got past prototype. Another high-profile cancelled horror game for the Wii, Sadness promised a black-and-white Eastern European survival horror experience with Slavic mythology. It was supposed to feature gesture-based controls and psychological elements, with the protagonist's mental state altered gameplay. The game generated early hype due to its haunting art direction and storytelling ambitions, but the studio, Nibris, faced internal issues and the game was quickly abandoned. No footage has ever been released, only concept art and a few screenshots. It has since become a symbol of vaporwave in gaming. Its cancellation helped spark discussions on over-promising an indie game development. And lastly, for Tier 5, we have Hell's Night, a PlayStation horror game that's a first-person enemy avoidance survival game. Set in the Tokyo subway system, the player is pursued by a shape-shifting bio-horror that evolves throughout the game. You cannot fight, it's run, hide, or die. The atmosphere is pitch black, the audio minimalist, and the fear is constant. Its monster design is grotesque and unforgettable, especially as it transforms. Released only in Japan and Europe, it remains underappreciated. Its minimal interface and relentless pace have made it a cult favorite among horror purists. And with that, now we are on to Tier 6, which is the absolute depths of retro horror. The depths itself, some have strange followings, but are difficult to access, obscure to Western players, and stuck in untranslated region lock, or buried by time. The game's most in need of preservation. And to start off Tier 6, we have Kowloon High School Chronicle, a strange hybrid dungeon-crawling RPG, school sim, and horror mystery. This game follows a student who moonlights as a tomb raider. Set in a Japanese high school with hidden ruins and supernatural secrets, it features a unique conversation system based on emotions. The tone swings from lighthearted to disturbingly dark in a heartbeat. Originally released only in Japan, it received an English remaster on the Switch in 2021. The horror elements come from hidden dungeons, ancient curses, and surreal enemies. It blends Indiana Jones with Lovecraftian undertones. The original PS2 version remains highly collectible. I really wish that going into this and thinking about it, I tried practicing pronunciations more, but I didn't, and that's my own detriment and downfall. Yuyami Dori Takentai is an obscure Japanese PS2 horror title that places players in the shoes of students investigating paranormal rumors in a decaying town. The game's design mimics 1990s camcorder footage, lending it to an analog horror feel. There is a minimal combat, fear is built through mood, exploration, and paranoia. It is deeply atmospheric and intentionally slow, making every moment feel oppressive. Though it has never been officially translated, fans compare its psychological tone to Silent Hill. The grainy visuals and low-budget feel enhance its realism, and consider one of the most authentic depictions of Japanese urban legend horror. And now we finally have a banger again, after so long, a game I can kind of know about, at least, thank God. I don't know half of these until I started researching, so finally I have one I'm excited to talk about, and will never be able to play, but still. Uzumaki Games refers to Junji Ito's works by the same name. This Japan-only WonderSwan game adapts the spiral-themed body horror story into a disturbing visual novel. Players experience surreal events involving spirals, madness, and grotesque transformations. The visuals are minimalist, but rely heavily on Ito's iconic art style. It follows the manga's plot with slight changes and alternate endings. Because of the platform's obscurity, it remains one of the rarest horror games ever made. No English patch exists, though screenshots have been translated by fans. It captures the slow burn cosmic horror that Ito is known for. If you have never ever read anything by Junji Ito, you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to go to Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, I don't care, Amazon, buy Uzumaki, buy No Longer Human, which is an amazing book that maybe I'll talk about one day, but also Wendigoon already did it and I don't feel like doing that again, but it's an amazing book. All of his work is amazing, and he deserves even more than he already has, but that's just, my thought of it. Raikoku is an obscure Japanese horror visual novel released for Windows with almost no documentation in the West. The game focuses on psychological horror through text-based storytelling and minimalist visuals. Its narrative centers around personal trauma and supernatural curses, creating an unsettling atmosphere of inevitability and dread. The game's art style is grainy, adding to the lo-fi terror appeal. No official translation or substantial English coverage exists, making it nearly impossible for non-Japanese speakers to experience. It's sometimes compared to indie horror visual novels for its mature, layered narrative. Its sheer rarity makes it a target for game preservationists. Josekken Necromancer is a cult classic Japanese RPG for the PC Engine that combines traditional turn-based combat with horror themes such as zombies, haunted ruins, and cursed artifacts. Players must fight grotesque monsters and navigate a grim, dying world that leans heavily into dark fantasy. Despite its RPG mechanics, the oppressive atmosphere and grotesque visuals cement it as an early horror-themed RPG. It was never officially released outside Japan, but became available on the Japanese Virtual Console. Its difficulty is notoriously high, with many random encounters and confusing mazes. The soundtrack uses harsh, unnerving synth melodies uncommon for its time. Some fans call it a proto-Shin Megami Tensei for its mature tone. See, that's 2 mentions of SMT. And now, I'm legally obligated to talk about one of my favorite game series at some point. See, it was going to come up, I told you. Hungry Ghost is a PlayStation 2 title that casts players as a ghost trapped in limbo, navigating bizarre realms of the afterlife while completing tasks for other spirits. The game blends puzzle solving with a rich, unsettling atmosphere steeped in Buddhist and Japanese folklore. It's notable for its slow, contemplative pace and unique first-person exploration system. Despite Sony's backing, it was Japan only and never received a localization or fans translation. Its mixture of dark surrealism and slow-burn horror has garnered it a cult following online. The game's narrative explores moral consequences and karmic cycles. It remains a fascinating example of horror games tackling existential themes. Night of the Sacrifice, also known as Ikeni no Yoru in Japan, is a Wii-exclusive survival horror that uses motion controls for an immersive first-person ghost hunting experience. Players explore an abandoned mansion while evading terrifying ghosts and spirits, using the Wii Remote as a flashlight. Its visual presentation is notable for its heavy use of black and white filters with sparse color highlights, creating a uniquely eerie vibe. The game features multiple protagonists with intertwined stories. Despite its originality, it was never localized outside Japan and remains relatively unknown. Its unique control scheme has been praised by horror enthusiasts for enhancing immersion. A fan's translation patch is available for those who are interested. Iru is a PlayStation survival horror game that focuses on high school students trapped overnight in their school during a terrifying supernatural event. It features classic fixed camera angle gameplay similar to Resident Evil, but adds unique mechanics like hiding and stealth. The school setting is claustrophobic, and the monster designs are grotesque, drawn from Japanese folklore. There are multiple endings based on character choices and exploration. It was never localized, but fan patches do exist. Its unsettling monster encounters and strange soundtrack make it highly memorable. It is sometimes called a hidden gem of the PlayStation horror library. Paranoia Escape is a surreal psychedelic PlayStation game that is essentially a horror-themed pinball title, but far weirder than it sounds. Players guide a grotesque humanoid ball through bizarre pinball-like courses filled with unsettling imagery and moody, distorted sound effects. Mixes horror, sci-fi, and avant-garde aesthetics, resulting in a deeply disorienting atmosphere. Its strange premise has made it a cult curiosity among retro collectors. The game never left Japan, and there is no official translation. Many fans do compare its tone to LSD Dream Emulator due to its abstract presentation. It remains one of the strangest entries in the PlayStation's library. AX2 Duality is one of the oldest games on this list. It is an extremely obscure Japanese PC-88 horror adventure game. Very little concrete information exists about its plot, but it's believed to involve themes of psychological horror and dual identities. The game's primitive graphics only hint at the disturbing subject matter through text descriptions and eerie still images. It was part of a wave of experimental Japanese PC games exploring dark themes in the early 1980s. Almost no video footage exists, and most information comes from old magazines and scattered screenshots. It's likely to remain obscure without fan preservation efforts. Some retro enthusiasts regard it as one of the first Japanese horror-themed adventure games. Mystic Knights is a game shrouded in mystery with almost no accessible information available, not even in Japanese sources. What little is known suggests it's a horror-themed Japanese PC adventure or RPG with heavy surrealist elements. The art style reportedly uses dreamlike, distorted visuals reminiscent of LSD Dream Emulator. No official translation or even confirmed gameplay footage exists online. Its inclusion on Iceberg reflects its extreme rarity and legendary status in niche horror circles. Some suspect it may have never even seen a wide release or was cancelled before completion. It's considered one of the most enigmatic lost horror games. Another virtually unknown game, Taiyo Jigoku appears to be a surreal horror adventure, possibly for a Japanese PC platform. Its name translates roughly to sun hell, suggesting it deals with extreme themes of heat, isolation, or existential torment. No verifiable screenshots, gameplay details, or official release information exist publicly. It remains one of the most elusive games mentioned in obscure horror discussions. Its only confirmed details come from obscure Japanese message boards and collector forums. Some speculate it may have been a prototype, doujin game, or abandoned indie project. Its legendary status continues to grow due to its complete lack of accessible content. Kowai Shashin is a visual novel for Japanese PCs involving cursed photographs and psychological horror. The player investigates bizarre, haunted images leading to terrifying revelations and supernatural events. Its gameplay is primarily text-based with occasional point-and-click mechanics to explore eerie photo albums. The art style is unsettling, blending photographic realism with grotesque distortions. It was never translated and remains difficult to acquire even within Japan. The game's themes touch on urban legends and media-based horror, similar to Ringu. Collectors often praise its ability to instill dread despite simple gameplay. If I had a nickel for every game on this tier that I can barely pronounce, I'd have a lot of nickels. And it's weird that it's happened more than once. Nanashi no Game is a Nintendo DS survival horror adventure that follows a cursed game cartridge that causes its players to die within 7 days. Players alternate between two gameplay styles, a cursed retro-style RPG and their real-world investigation in first-person perspective. The game builds tension through unsettling glitches, jump scares, and eerie sound design within the RPG sections. It was never released outside Japan, but gained a cult following thanks to its inventive narrative structure. A sequel, Nanashi no Game Me, was released in 2009, expanding on the cursed game concept. Its blend of meta horror and handheld technology makes it uniquely terrifying. Several fan translations exist, though it's still considered rare. I don't know why, but this next entry, I feel like Tom X Games is going to message me and ask why I talked about it, and I think that's also going to be really funny, but it's fine. Ao Shiro is a Yuri-themed horror visual novel that follows a girls' kendo club during a seaside training camp that becomes plagued by supernatural horrors. Players make choices that affect the story's progression, leading to multiple endings, some lighthearted, others deeply disturbing. It features gorgeous 2D artwork, atmospheric music, and well-developed characters. While it appears innocent at first glance, certain routes delve into body horror, ancient curses, and psychological trauma. An official English version has never been released, though fan translations exist. Its unique blend of romance and horror sets it apart from most visual novels. The game is part of the Shigurane no Soleil series. The Fear is an obscure Japanese horror game for the PC that revolves around a cursed VHS tape and its devastating impact to those who watch it. Players must solve puzzles and investigate supernatural occurrences linked to the tape, blending point-and-click mechanics with FMV sequences. Its slow pace, unsettling video clips, and heavy use of analog horror aesthetics make it deeply unsettling. Though relatively unknown outside Japan, it's praised for its eerie atmosphere. Its themes draw heavy inspiration from Ringu and other cursed media stories. No English translation exists, and physical copies are scarce. It remains a niche favorite for horror game collectors. Ningyo no Raiken, translating to The Mermaid's Stigma, is a PlayStation horror adventure following a group of students investigating creepy urban legends at their school. It features pre-rendered backgrounds, fixed camera angles, and puzzle-solving gameplay akin to Resident Evil. The plot involves Japanese folklore surrounding mermaids, curses, and grotesque transformations. The atmosphere is deeply unsettling, with gruesome imagery and a brooding soundtrack. Despite its intriguing premise, it remains untranslated and largely unknown in the West. Some horror game enthusiasts praise it as an underrated gem with chilling monster designs. Its use of mermaid mythology is particularly rare in the horror genre. The Kyoshi Panic, also known as Phantom Fighter Panic, is a quirky action title that draws from Hong Kong's Shigashi folklore. Players control a Taoist priest battling supernatural enemies in fast-paced side-scrolling action. It mixes campy humor with spooky settings, creating a unique tone. The gameplay involves martial arts and exorcism rituals to defeat monsters. It was released on Japanese PCs and extremely rare today. The game blends of martial arts and horror makes it one of the most unusual entries on the Iceberg, as a small cult following in retro gaming circles. Hayarigami is a visual novel-style horror game that follows a detective solving crimes linked to urban legends across Japan. It blends investigative gameplay with psychological horror, presenting players with eerie cases that grow increasingly supernatural. Featuring multiple storylines and endings, it examines themes like mind control, possession, and folklore curses. The series is known for its realistic police procedures mixed with outright terrifying scenarios. Though highly praised in Japan, it remains untranslated. Later entries in the Hiragami series push boundaries even further with disturbing storylines. It's often cited as Japan's most kept horror secrets. And lastly, for the entirety of the retro horror game Iceberg, we have Yakusu Nonori no Game. This adventure horror game revolves around urban myths and cursed games that drag players into dangerous situations. The game blends visual novel storytelling with exploration of modern urban legends. It's best known for its deeply unsettling plots involving digital hauntings and reality-bending curses. The graphics are minimalist but effective at creating a dread through lighting and subtle animations. It was released only in Japan for the PlayStation 2 and remains untranslated. It has a strong cult following among Japanese horror game fans. Some fans compare its tone to Paranoia Agent and Serial Experiments Lane. And with that, we are done. The retro horror gaming Iceberg. Finally, it only took me like a few months to finally do it, but it's done. I hope it was cool. I don't know what else to say. I finished the Iceberg. I finished my first Iceberg. That's kind of cool. That's awesome, you know? Like, I don't know. And I just wanted to thank everyone that has watched the other parts of the Iceberg. The third part is about to hit 200 here before long. I'm hoping with this video coming out, it can hit that at a decent pace. And I just really appreciate all the support that I've gotten from friends to people I've shown my stuff to. It really makes me happy that I'm able to do something I really like, and I don't even care about if I ever get big with it. I'm just happy that people see my stuff and are enjoying it, and that's what I'm doing this for. Like, cool, I could blow up if I wanted to, but it's not what it's about to me right now. It's just about doing something that I like, talking about gaming, talking about horror, and it's what I love to do. It's my favorite thing in the world. So I'm just glad I'm able to make this content and show you guys what I find, what I research, and yeah, I just really wanted to say thank you guys for watching everything. I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. After this one goes up, I'll get to working on combining the whole thing together just to make one big Iceberg video. That way, if you just want to watch the whole thing, you can do that. If you want to watch a certain part, you can do that. It'll, you know, it's just one of those things. I'd rather get it all together into one as well, and then I have the separate parts. I don't know, it just makes more sense in my head. And other than that, I don't think I already said all the news in the beginning, so that is going to be it for the Retro Horror Iceberg, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I have more stuff on the way if work stops getting in the way. And until then, guys, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!